Exploring the life of Michael Jackson's most private partner? Michael Jackson's ex-wife and mother of his first two children, Debbie Rowe, has mostly stayed out of the spotlight despite her high-profile 1996 marriage to the King of Pop, which ended in divorce just 3 years later. Her only in-depth interview took place in 2003 as a response to the controversial documentary Living with Michael Jackson. However, a large portion of what she revealed was never actually broadcast. What really happened behind closed doors? Was their marriage based on love, or was it just a transaction for money and publicity? In this video, we have compiled all of Rowe's revealing comments about her relationship with Jackson, their marriage, her children, drug use, and the legal battle for custody. Where is Debbie Rowe today? And what does she say after all these years? Stay tuned as we uncover the truth. How a medical assistant became the King of Pop's confidant. The story of Jackson and Rowe began a decade earlier, in 1986, when they met for the first time at the dermatology office of Dr. Arnold Klein, where Rowe worked as an assistant. At the time, Jackson was struggling with lupus and vitiligo, and Rowe provided medical support, answering his questions and offering comfort. Over time, the two formed a close friendship. Jackson, ever the showman, frequently sent her autographed memorabilia that Rowe proudly displayed in her office. According to her friend Tanya Boyd, Debbie Rowe was completely in love with Michael Jackson. She often said, "If people knew him like I do, they wouldn't think he was strange. He is unique and a bit eccentric." The deep bond that led to a life-changing offer. The friendship between Rowe and Jackson lasted several years, during which she divorced her husband Richard Edelman, a marriage she described as feeling like a prison. Both grew closer through their shared struggles in love. Rowe confided in Jackson about her unhappy marriage, while Jackson opened his heart about his own difficulties with Lisa Marie Presley. Like Presley, Rowe stayed by Jackson's side in 1993 when he was accused of child abuse, offering him unwavering support. When Jackson married Presley, he kept his friendship with Rowe a secret, but when Presley finally discovered the truth, she ignored the friendship, thinking Rowe was not Jackson's type due to her unglamorous appearance and low-key personality. However, tensions in their marriage increased. Lisa Marie became increasingly uncertain about their relationship, and her hesitation to have children, a subject Jackson was deeply passionate about, only made things worse. During their late-night phone calls, Rowe repeatedly told Jackson that if he truly wanted to be a father, she would carry his child. A hidden tragedy before the public spotlight. As Jackson's frustration with Presley's reluctance to have children grew, Rowe's offer became increasingly difficult to ignore. Eventually, Lisa Marie became aware of the growing pressure, and this played a role in the breakdown of their marriage. In an interview with Playboy, Lisa Marie Presley admitted she was well aware during her marriage to Michael Jackson that Debbie Rowe had feelings for him and wanted to have his children. Shortly after the high-profile separation of Jackson and Presley in early 1996, Rowe became pregnant, but tragically lost the baby in March of that same year. The loss devastated her, leaving her fearing she might never be able to have children. Jackson, who had long expressed his desire to be a father, was there to console and support her through this ordeal, which remained completely hidden from the public. The truth behind the conception of the Jackson heirs. In September, Jackson launched the first part of his History World Tour. A few months after finalizing his divorce from Presley, headlines broke with the revelation that Rowe was pregnant with his child. Furious at how the media portrayed the situation, Rowe complained that they were making her and Jackson look like monsters. However, many reports proved to be accurate, including the claim that Jackson would raise the child alone and that Rowe had undergone artificial insemination. Later, Rowe openly confirmed that she and Jackson never had sexual relations and that their children were conceived in a clinical setting. "They inseminated me. It's just like I inseminate my mares for breeding," she explained. "It was very technical. I was his purebred." Addressing the rumors of a financial transaction, rumors circulated that the relationship between Michael Jackson and Debbie Rowe was purely transactional. Some speculated that Rowe saw it as financial security, while Jackson viewed the agreement as a way to finally become a father. When confronted with these claims, Jackson vigorously denied them, calling the accusations that their relationship was motivated by money and that artificial insemination was involved totally false and irresponsible. Despite these public denials, court documents later revealed that Rowe had indeed received substantial financial support from Jackson over the years. Documents filed in 2002 by Jackson's former business manager, Myung-Ho Lee, detailed the star's monthly budget, including a payment of $1.5 million to Rowe. Additionally, Jackson had given her a $1.3 million house in 1997, although they never lived together. The influence of Katherine Jackson and a sudden wedding. When news of Rowe's pregnancy reached Jackson's mother, Katherine, she was horrified. A devout Jehovah's Witness, she was deeply disturbed by the idea of her son having a child out of wedlock, especially given the painful history of his own father, Joe Jackson, who had an illegitimate daughter during his marriage. Katherine took it upon herself to call Debbie and talk to her about the importance of marriage in their faith. She then urged Michael to marry this nice girl Deb and give his child a name, not like your poor half-sister Giovanni. Michael Jackson took his mother's words to heart. The idea of being compared to his father, Joe Jackson, who had a child outside of his marriage, disturbed him deeply. Until that moment, the arrangement was clear. Debbie Rowe would act as a surrogate, giving Jackson the child as a friendly gesture, while he would raise the child alone. But now, under Katherine's influence and his growing fear of public reaction, Jackson made a sudden decision. He called Rowe and asked her to join him in Australia. When she arrived, he announced they would be married the next day, a cynical public reaction to a Sydney ceremony. On November 15, 1996, Michael Jackson and Debbie Rowe exchanged vows at the Sheraton on the Park Hotel in Sydney, Australia. The day before, Jackson reportedly called his ex-wife, Lisa Marie Presley, who gave the couple her blessing. The intimate ceremony was attended by only 15 guests, with Jackson's 8-year-old nephew Anthony serving as a witness. However, the world was not as supportive. The reaction from the press and the public was generally cynical. Many believed Jackson had married someone he didn't truly love, while others speculated that the child Rowe was carrying was not biologically his. Jackson himself refused to comment on the marriage, offering only a brief confirmation before asking for privacy. Journalists bombarded him with questions. "Mike, how does it feel to be married? You must be very happy. Is this a happy day for you?" But Jackson remained reserved. Fans, meanwhile, were in turmoil. Some were devastated, others suspicious. One upset admirer summarized the feeling of many. "I think it's a trap. She's pregnant. My life is over." Defending their love and the arrival of Prince. In an effort to push back against the negative press surrounding his marriage, Michael Jackson publicly defended his relationship with Debbie Rowe. "Debbie and I love each other for all the things you will never see on stage or in a photo," he stated. "I fell in love with the beautiful, unpretentious, and generous person she is, and she fell in love with me simply because I was me." On February 13, 1997, Jackson and Rowe welcomed their first child, Michael Joseph Jackson Jr., at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. The baby was nicknamed Prince in tribute to Michael's grandfather and great-grandfather, who both bore that name. Jackson and Rowe cut the umbilical cord together, but shortly after the birth, Prince was taken to intensive care for minor respiratory issues, spending 5 hours under observation before being declared healthy. Once released, he was taken to Neverland Ranch with Jackson, while Rowe recovered at a friend's house. The emotional distance in the birth of Paris. It took 6 weeks before Rowe saw her son again. She had agreed to pose for photos with Jackson and their newborn in a hotel, a carefully orchestrated stage meeting for the press. By that time, she had already begun to distance herself emotionally, believing that getting too attached would only make things harder. When she arrived at the hotel room, the baby was handed to her, and she was asked to smile for the camera with Michael. Once the photos were taken, she was quickly sent away. Back at Neverland, Prince was cared for by a team of 6 nannies and 6 nurses. According to a former nanny, Rowe played little to no role in the child's life. "I saw her maybe 3 times, she recalled, and she always seemed very moody. Despite Debbie Rowe's somewhat distant role in her son's life, it was announced in November 1997 that she was pregnant with their second child, a girl who would be named Paris, after the city where her parents said she was conceived. Rumors of a rekindled flame with Lisa Marie Presley. But as Rowe's pregnancy progressed, rumors began to circulate that Michael Jackson and his ex-wife, Lisa Marie Presley, had rekindled their relationship. The two were seen together several times in London, South Africa, and Los Angeles, fueling widespread speculation of an affair. Their public displays of affection fueled rumors that Jackson was involved with Presley while still married to Rowe. Some even suggested the couple planned to remarry in Johannesburg, despite Jackson already being married to Rowe and her carrying his child. The drama played out on television when Rowe addressed the rumors, publicly denying she felt threatened by Presley's friendship with Jackson. She insisted she had no reason to believe he was unfaithful. But later in the same interview, Rowe admitted that their friendship was what mattered most to her, and if their marriage harmed that, she was willing to set it aside to preserve their bond. A rush home and a failed request to the Vatican. Amidst this tension, Rowe gave birth to a healthy, blue-eyed Paris Michael Catherine Jackson on April 3, 1998. Jackson later recalled the anxiety he felt after the birth, claiming he took his newborn daughter and rushed home, with the placenta and everything on her. However, Rowe later clarified that Jackson had actually had the placenta frozen. After the birth, Jackson's associates contacted Pope John Paul II at the Vatican in Rome, hoping the pontiff would personally baptize the pop star's daughter. A Vatican official informed Jackson by letter that the leader of the Catholic Church would not participate in what might be perceived as a publicity stunt. After the birth of Paris, a pregnancy fraught with problems that left her unable to have more children, Rowe became increasingly dissatisfied with their arrangement and filed for divorce, which Jackson granted on October 8, 1999. The end of a marriage and a massive settlement. As a result, Rowe received approximately $10 million as a divorce settlement and gave Jackson full custody of the children. At the time, Rowe and Jackson asked for privacy and requested the public not speculate on the reasons for their divorce, citing growing media speculation and press intrusion as primary factors in the collapse of their marriage. They concluded that despite the end of their marital life, they would continue to remain friends. Debbie Rowe was harassed by hurtful and insidious rumors after Jackson's death. On June 25, 2009, Michael Jackson's sudden death from cardiac arrest shocked the entire world. While fans mourned and speculation circulated about the circumstances of his death, intense media scrutiny turned to those closest to him. Although much of the attention focused on Jackson's doctor, Dr. Conrad Murray, Debbie Rowe also found herself at the center of the controversy, facing insidious rumors after Michael's passing. Shortly after Jackson's death, TMZ published a report claiming Rowe was not the biological mother of Prince and Paris. Citing unnamed sources, the article alleged the children were conceived via in vitro fertilization using donor eggs, suggesting Rowe had served only as a surrogate and had been well compensated for her role. The allegations quickly prompted a response from Rowe's lawyer, Martha Almley, who issued a firm denial. Speaking to Access Hollywood, Almley condemned the speculation, calling it totally false and particularly hurtful and insidious. She then set the record straight, stating, "Ms. Rowe is the biological mother of the two eldest children." As rumors spread, another name was pulled into the conversation, Dr. Arnold Klein, the celebrity dermatologist Rowe had worked for. Some reports suggested Klein, not Jackson, was the true biological father of the children. However, a spokesperson for Klein dismissed the speculation, stating that due to patient confidentiality, he would not comment on any accusations. A daughter's crisis and a mother's return. Debbie Rowe reconciled with her daughter just before she attempted to end her life. In 2013, Michael Jackson's family launched a high-profile lawsuit against concert promoter AEG Live, arguing the company was responsible for hiring Dr. Conrad Murray, the physician convicted of involuntary manslaughter after administering a fatal dose of propofol to Jackson. However, AEG denied any wrongdoing, insisting Jackson had personally requested Murray's services. Ultimately, the jury ruled in favor of AEG, finding the company was not responsible for the singer's death. As part of the trial, Debbie Rowe testified, offering rare personal insights into her own life and the impact of Jackson's death on their daughter, Paris. The emotionally charged legal proceedings revealed disturbing details about Jackson's final days, details that reports say weighed heavily on Paris, who attempted suicide during the trial. Rowe did not hold back her words when addressing the heartbreaking situation. "I almost lost my daughter," she said in tears. "She tried to kill herself. She doesn't feel like she has a life anymore." She then revealed that she and Paris had recently reconnected at the time of the incident. The two were rebuilding their relationship, talking regularly and spending weekends together. Comparing the bonds with Paris and Prince, Debbie Rowe is much closer to Paris than to Prince. During the 2013 Michael Jackson involuntary manslaughter trial, Debbie not only spoke about her daughter Paris, but also shared rare insights into her relationship with her son Prince. Unlike Paris, the bond with Prince was not as deeply developed. When asked to speak about their connection, Rowe was frank. "We don't hate each other, if that's what you mean," she said. "I'm closer to my daughter." Over the years, she and Prince have been seen together on a few occasions. But for much of Paris's early life, Rowe was a complete stranger to her. In a Rolling Stone interview, Paris admitted that when she was younger, her mother didn't exist in her world. It wasn't until she was old enough to realize that a man cannot give birth to a child that she began asking her father questions about her mother. "I asked him, 'What's her name?' And he just told me, 'Debbie.' And I replied, 'Okay, I know the name.'" Paris didn't seek out the information right away, but after Jackson's death, she turned to the internet to learn more about Rowe. The two finally reunited when Paris was 13. By that time, the nature of their relationship had changed. "I had a lot of mother figures, but by the time my mother entered my life, it wasn't a mommy relationship," Paris explained. "It's more of an adult relationship." The truth about the custody battles and leaked emails, Debbie attempted to gain custody of Paris Jackson. After Paris Jackson's suicide attempt in 2013, Debbie Rowe stayed by her daughter's side and shared updates on her behalf. "My daughter asked me to send a huge thank you for all your thoughts, prayers, and support," Rowe tweeted at the time, adding, "She is strong like her father." Concerned for Paris's well-being, Rowe reportedly considered filing for custody the following year. However, sources claim she eventually dropped the idea after realizing Paris was in good hands with her grandmother, Katherine Jackson. Debbie was so concerned about Paris's health that she wanted to do everything she could to help her, a family friend explained. This wasn't the first time Rowe thought about taking custody of Michael's children, only to eventually withdraw. After giving birth to their first child, reports claimed she had accepted an $8 million settlement with a $900,000 annual payment in exchange for waiving her parental rights. After Jackson's death in 2009, rumors circulated that she was negotiating an additional $4 million to stay out of the custody battle, claims her representatives denied. Despite the public back and forth, Rowe and the Jackson family settled their custody differences a few weeks later, with an agreement that involved no financial payment. However, leaked emails reportedly gave a different picture of Rowe's stance on motherhood. In a message to a friend, she allegedly admitted, "Do I want the kids? Absolutely not." She then added, "Does it look good that I'm asking for them? Absolutely." A controversial new engagement and a past revealed Debbie Rowe's new man has a past in the adult film industry. Debbie Rowe and Michael Jackson ended their 3-year marriage in 1999, but she didn't rush into a new relationship. It wasn't until 5 years after Jackson's death that she announced her engagement. What surprised many people wasn't just that she had moved on after all that time, but who she was marrying. Mark Chaffel, a former videographer at Neverland Ranch and once a close member of Jackson's inner circle. "We are best friends," Chaffel told Entertainment Tonight after the engagement announcement. "I was actually the only one after Debbie and Michael split who could still talk to Debbie." Rowe even claimed that Jackson would have approved of their relationship, although not everyone was convinced. When news of their engagement broke, people dug into Chaffel's past and discovered a complicated history. Although he and Jackson were close, Chaffel was even mentioned in the dedications of Jackson's 2001 album Invincible. Their relationship reportedly soured years before Jackson's death. The split allegedly occurred after revelations that Chaffel had directed adult films under the name Mark Freaks. Chaffel didn't avoid his past when questioned. "It's no secret that my past is in the adult film industry," he stated. "I don't hide anything in my life." Facing a health crisis with a daughter's support, Debbie Rowe battled breast cancer. Debbie Rowe was there for her daughter Paris Jackson during one of the darkest periods of her life, and years later, Paris returned the favor. In July 2016, Rowe revealed in an interview with Entertainment Tonight that she had been diagnosed with breast cancer. She had already undergone surgery to remove a tumor and was undergoing chemotherapy. A few weeks before the interview, Paris had posted an emotional photo of herself kissing her mother's bald head, a visible sign of Roe's battle. Her hair had started falling out after her first chemotherapy session. "Paris is my rock," Rose said. "She's amazing. She's been with me the whole time." First phone call. It took her 30 seconds to contact me when she found out. She said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yes, I've got this." She said, "I know you've got this, Mom." Determined to take control of the situation, Rose shaved her head before the chemotherapy took it. She chose a blonde wig she nicknamed Ursula, facing the change with resilience. "Chemo does everything to make you lose your femininity," she explained. "And what many people don't realize is that when I take off the wig, I'm still me. I'm still feminine. I'm still a woman. And above all, I'm still a human being." Despite the hardships, this experience ultimately brought her family closer. Even her son Prince Michael kept people informed of her progress. After several months of treatment, Rose successfully completed her chemotherapy in January 2017, finding peace and remission on the ranch. And now what's next for Debbie Rowe? In July 2018, 2 years after being diagnosed with breast cancer, Debbie Rowe was seen with friends in Palmdale, California. At the time, no official statement had been made about the effectiveness of her chemotherapy, but she appeared visibly healthier. A year later, she confirmed the good news herself. In an interview, Rose shared that she was in remission. "I'm doing fine for now," she stated. "I'm still in remission." Today, Rowe has left behind the hustle and bustle of Los Angeles and has fully embraced a quieter, more laid-back lifestyle. She runs the Painted Desert Ranch, a horse ranch nestled in the California desert between Palmdale and Lancaster. The ranch is about an hour from Paris Jackson's home in Hollywood, and according to Rowe, her daughter has visited several times. She added that Paris was doing very well in focusing on her music. Paris, who performs with her boyfriend Gabriel Glenn in their band The Soundflowers, has Rowe's full support. "I think he's a lovely boy," Rowe said after attending one of their intimate concerts at the Mint in 2019, where she was seen chatting with artists like Chris Brown. It has been a long and sometimes difficult journey for Rowe, but through it all, she has remained resilient, as she said during her fight against cancer. "I'm a fighter, and I always have been." Now, as she enjoys a peaceful life on her ranch, she remains a fascinating figure in the history of Michael Jackson's legacy. What do you think of Debbie Rowe's journey and her relationship with Paris and Prince Michael? Let us know in the comments below. If this story changed how you view the figures behind the headlines, please subscribe to our channel and like this video. We are uncovering the history they tried to bury. Plant the seeds for the future. The next treasure will be revealed soon.